There's no better feeling. There's no more of a freeing feeling of when you haven't got that return flight booked and you're just going out into the road and you're like, I don't know when I'm going to come back, but I'm going out there. I literally got let down a week before I was meant to go, saying that I had no accommodation. But I was so committed. I already had my flights booked. I was like, I am going no matter what. Because of Magaluf, I put myself in an uncomfortable situation and I ended up finding commission-only sales. One of the best things about being in commission-only sales was the hunger that I gained. If you want to smash remote sales or high-ticket sales, then you need to be hungry. The path that you're on is life-changing, but that path is only going to be life-changing if you go all in with it, because the only way you're going to fail is if you quit. Welcome back to episode 3 of Sales with Callum podcast. The sun's shining. I'm filming this video right here, right now at a luxury spa in the UK called Champneys. This place is like my spiritual home, and I'm excited to dive into how this journey even started, how that I'm filming this on a Friday in the UK, and I have so much gratitude that I'm able to be anywhere in the world and I'm able to work remotely. And how did that all start? And it actually started from one crazy summer in Magaluf back in 2017. This place completely changed my life. And I actually I'm standing here thinking, not many people can turn around and say that Magaluf changed their life. But for me, it completely transformed my life. And it's now took me on a journey of becoming a confident closer in the high ticket sales space. It's helped me, led me onto a path of interviewing millionaires and multimillionaires on my old podcast, Freedom Lifestyle. Feel free to check that out on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. You know, it's led me on to be able to travel the world and have that time and location freedom. And I feel so blessed. And I find it crazy to stand here right now and share the fact this all stems from working out in Magaluf when I was younger. So how did it all happen? Well, I shared on episode 1 my story of how I got an opportunity to go on a TV show called IB for Weekender, which then led me on to booking a one-way flight out to Magaluf, because I can vividly remember I was studying business at university and I was sat in the lecture halls and I was just looking around and everyone was so disengaged. And I was like, I've invested thousands and thousands of pounds to be studying business here, but I'm learning from an employee and I'm learning from someone that has no energy and just has a room of disengaged students. So I was like, do you know what? I'm going to go all in and I'm going to book a one-way flight out to Magaluf. So if you're listening to this podcast right now, I almost want this to be your sign. But if you have this urge to go all in with remote sales, or if you're already in remote sales and you have this urge that you want to go and travel, you want to go into a new environment, like, let this podcast be your sign to go and do that. Because let me tell you this, that one-way flight completely transformed my life. My question to you, have you ever booked a one-way flight before? Because there's no better feeling, there's no more of a freeing feeling of when you haven't got that return flight booked and you're just going out into the road and you're like, I don't know when I'm going to come back, but I'm going out there. And it was crazy because when I actually went out to Magaluf to do my first season, I literally got let down a week before I was meant to go, saying that I had no accommodation. But I was so committed on making sure that I was going to go. And when there's a will, there's a way. You know, the company that let me down, I'm not going to say names, but they said to me that I could go back next year instead. But I was so committed. I already had my flights booked. I was like, I am going no matter what. And I ended up managing to sort accommodation out for just 2 weeks. I had no job lined up when I got there. I've never even been to Magaluf before, but I had this feeling inside. I had this gut feeling saying, I am going to go. And I made it work and I flew out there and I ended up getting an opportunity. I got approached about some different events and that led me on to becoming an events rep. And that summer was crazy. Like I mentioned, I booked a one-way flight. I went out there. I thought I was only going to last a month. I ended up lasting that summer for 3 months. And I would have stayed longer, but I literally flew home the day before I went to Creamfields Festival. Imagine doing 3 months, drinking every single night, partying in Magaluf, flying home and then going to Creamfields. If you've been to Creamfields before, then you know how you feel after going to Creamfields or a festival like that. And imagine doing 3 months as a rep before that. It was absolutely crazy. But you know what? That place changed my life. And why did it change my life? Well, because I got introduced to the world of sales. Like I mentioned before in my previous podcast, if you haven't checked them out yet, there's 2 episodes already, yeah? Feel free to check them out. I dive into my story. I dive into why I believe the school system, why they didn't actually teach us sales. I studied business at university and sales wasn't mentioned. Like, it really didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But I'm so grateful that because of Magaluf, I put myself in an uncomfortable situation and I ended up finding commission only sales. And here's the thing, so many people have this stigma that commission only sales is too risky. But especially if you're young and you're entrepreneurial and you're hungry, let me tell you this, being on commission only sales is better than being on a salary. My now business partner, Jordan, like myself and him, we've both been in the sales industry. I've been in it for 8 years. Jordan's been in it for 6 years, but we've gone down completely different paths. But his path was a lot more boring. His path was in corporate sales. He was on a good salary, but he wasn't fulfilled. He was pretty bored and he wasn't able to travel. He wasn't abroad. Whereas my commission only path, yes, it was more risky. However, it was way more fun. It gave me the freedom that I didn't have to ask my boss when I wanted time off. I could go on holiday when I wanted to go on holiday. But most importantly, being on a commission, it makes you hungry. It makes you so hungry. And that was one of the best things about being in commission only sales, was the hunger that I gained. And I want to share this with you. If you want to smash remote sales or high ticket sales, then you need to be hungry. You need to act like you're the business owner. Don't just sit around waiting for calls to get booked into your calendar. Don't just sit around waiting for the best inbound leads to come in to book appointments. No, you need to be hungry. You need to act like you're the business owner and your life depends on it. You need to be following up. You need to be making moves. You need to be networking online, networking in person, creating your own opportunities. And when you create your own opportunities, you're going to make more money. But most importantly, I can guarantee you, like right now, if you want to go all in with sales, in the future, you're likely to end up wanting to create your own business. You'll probably want your own thing in the future. By being hungry, acting like you're a business owner now, mastering appointment setting, mastering closing. When it comes to becoming a business owner, it's going to become so much easier. And I find it crazy to think that I'm stood here now and it all started from Magaluf. So for you, getting into being in remote sales, you may be an appointment setter, you may be a closer, but let me tell you this, the path that you're on is life-changing. But that path is only going to be life-changing if you go all in with it, because the only way you're going to fail is if you quit. And I just want to share this with you. If you're in a commission-only sales role, or you're looking at getting in a commission-only sales role, you may have some friends, you may have some family members, people on social media that don't agree with it, that tell you to get a real job. But let me tell you this, if you go all in and you make sure that you're in the right network, like Sales Growth Club, and if you're watching this, like I want you to be involved with our network that me and Jordan are creating with Sales Growth Club. So I'd be so amazed to get connected with you on my Instagram, Sales with Callum. Send me a DM saying 888 and I'll get properly connected with you. I want to make sure that I get to know every single one of you listening to this right here, right now, because I'm here to help. I'm here to guide. And I actually run a private story on my Instagram where I share daily sales and mindset training. And I want to invite you to that for being a part of this podcast that I'm building. And I'm so excited that in the podcast space, there isn't loads of sales podcasts out there. And it's needed because sales is one of the most important skills that you can possibly learn. It's such a high valued skill because when you learn how to sell, you become different. You become unshakable. And like I mentioned, in the future, if you end up wanting to run your own business, it's going to become a lot easier to run that business. I'm confident you've absolutely loved this podcast and I'm excited to see you on the next one. So make sure you subscribe to this channel, ready for the next training. And other than that, I hope you have an amazing day, and I'm so grateful for you. Other than that, hasta luego.